Have you ever experienced a lump in your throat during difficult conversations? Or maybe, even though you're an extremely articulate person, you have a hard time coming up with the words when talking with a certain person? That may be your throat chakra talking to you. Today, we're going to talk about the throat chakra, and we're going to develop our own DIY throat chakra tea that you can make at home to support your throat chakra and your journey towards clearer, easier communication. Welcome to my kitchen. Pull up a chair and grab a cup of tea. I have something special to share with you. So what in the world's a chakra? Chakras are energy centers in the body, and the throat chakra, as you may have determined already, it has to do with the throat. It has to do with the neck, the shoulders, this whole area here. I went through a situation recently where I felt like a tightness in my throat, but I knew I did not need like a lozenge or to take some flu meds. But instead, it was when I was talking about certain situations that, it was almost like a lump in my throat, and I knew I needed to give some love to my throat chakra. This year, I started delving into the concept of the good girl. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but recently I heard a binge eating coach talk about how good girls frequently find themselves binge eating because they are doing something to actually shut themselves up. We can't say what we want to say, so we're literally shoving something in our mouth so we cut off that communication. And while that may not be exactly what we're talking about here, I want to ask you, when was the last time you felt like you couldn't speak your piece, or maybe around certain people you can't say certain things? Maybe that's around holidays or with certain people, like certain family members. And it can be hard to find the words to communicate with people, frankly, that can be difficult. So with me, tough conversations have been increasing. My dad has been ill, and what comes with that is a lot of family discussion between my family members. But here's what I realized. I realized that my throat chakra is saying something to me, and my throat chakra is telling me to speak up for myself. And that by not speaking up for myself, not having a reaction like getting mad and yelling at somebody when I'm frustrated, that I'm actually depriving myself of the pleasure of getting mad. And this sounds a little silly, but sometimes it feels good to stand up for yourself and to raise your voice if you need to raise your voice. And for those of us who were raised in that kind of environment of more like children are seen, not heard, this can be hard to overcome. But let me tell you, it takes a little bit of bravery, but once you start speaking up for yourself, you will not be able to stop. So let's talk about some ways that we can give some love to our throat chakra, and then we'll get into our tea. Number one, make speaking up a priority. I know it can be hard to speak up with certain people, but really now is the time. I mean, you know that saying, you only live once? Yeah, this is the time to make your voice heard. And you can do that in a kind way where you're not mean to people. And I know that you'll find a way to do this, but that's the first one. We're gonna make speaking up for yourself a priority. Number two, try neck stretches. And when I heard this, I honestly thought it was kind of lame, but it kind of makes sense that if this whole area is really tight, that your throat would feel tight too. So I recommend just doing whatever feels good to you, trying to relax your muscles and loosen up in that area. And actually, I think movement of any kind can be really good because you're not only physically moving your body, but you're moving energy around. And when you do that, like, especially if you're angry, especially if you have a lot of emotions going on, get those junky energies out of your body. And a great way to do this is through movement. Number three, eat blue foods. Blue is the color of the throat chakra. So you're gonna wanna stick with foods that are natural here. I'm not talking about artificial flavors. I'm talking about fruits and vegetables that have that color associated with the chakra. So foods that are great for the throat chakra are blueberries, blackberries, and the last thing you can do for yourself is drink throat chakra tea. And there are several herbs that are really supportive of the throat chakra. Let's talk about the main one. This is the star of the show, and that is sage. So there are lots of herbs that you could use for your throat chakra tea, but for me, sage is always a go-to. Sage is always my favorite. Sage is always a favorite for me, and I like to think of it in terms of like cleansing the throat chakra area. So here are a couple other herbs that you may like though. So obviously sage, rosemary, and I also love to add peppermint because I think peppermint's amazing. So I just wanted to show you really fast sage and how to use it as tea, okay? Since this is gonna be the base to our throat chakra tea. This is fresh sage, and I just got it from my yard yesterday. I just picked it. Just glorious. And this is sage that I have dried. Now, this is a different plant, but I got this from my yard the other day and just left it out on a cookie sheet, and it's hot enough here in Texas that I find that things dry very quickly. So here's the deal. You can either use fresh or dried. Dried leaves are more potent than fresh, so that's something to look out for. Also, if you're using dried leaves, it's going to have a darker color than if you use fresh. That's just my opinion. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how we would use this as a base for our tea. So let's say I have some peppermint. I'm going to add that as well. I know rosemary is a great one, but honestly, I don't know if rosemary and sage would make me think about Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? I like to think about how the flavors are going to go together. So we're just going to take the dried sage and we're just going to put it into our tea strainer. Now, this is just a stainless steel metal strainer, and I will put links to some of my Amazon favorites below so you could see, like, this one is super easy. It just kind of hangs on your mug. So I'll put a list to my favorites, because something else I love with the sage tea is also, I love a little honey. So what I do is just take my sage tea, add a little honey, and you should not be using a metal spoon. So there's something about the metal that reacts with the honey. So I'll put a link for this as well. These are super cute. These are olive wood spoons, and they are on Amazon, and they're adorable. So like, why not? And look how cute you look with your tea. So we're just using our stainless steel tea strainer that has our sage, putting in additional herbs if we want to, and then to complement, add some honey, maybe add some lemon. Limes are another good one as well. So see what tastes good to you. And while we're here, while we're drinking our sage tea, let's say a couple things and put some intention into our tea. Now, if you've never done this before, this is super simple. This is putting intentionality into your food, and I love to do this, especially if I'm making something for somebody. I just think to myself and say a little prayer, and in this case, I would say something like, I'm putting intention into this tea, that this throat chakra tea is going to support me in speaking up for what I want. Super simple little prayer. Also, I have a few affirmations for you as well. If you're affirmation people, you can say these while you're drinking your throat chakra tea. Here are some affirmations for you. I love to speak my truth freely and without hesitation. I love to speak my mind. I speak up. My throat chakra is supported and helping me speak freely. Those are just a few affirmations. Feel free to use those or switch them up as you like, but that in essence is it, my friends. So this is throat chakra tea. A lot of it is intentionality that goes behind it. So make sure while you're making your tea, you're really focused on how you're going to support your throat chakra. Like I mentioned, I will be putting links for all of my favorite tea related items. And if you are a tea person, I'll put the link below also for my Tea of the Month Club. And this is not like any other Tea of the Month Club. I include my favorite tea, and sometimes I include recipes, sometimes I include my favorite gadgets. This month, I'm including a zester and my recipe for my Not a Rita, along with some Mighty Mint tea. I'm going to teach you how to make a margarita mocktail so you can drink it anytime. This is a mocktail made with tea, fruit juice, and herbs, and it's lovely. All right, friends, thanks for spending time with me today. I'll be seeing you on my next video.